All right, welcome in. I think this is episode 53 of the Logan Ward Show. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to a podcast. We're getting them out on Spotify, Apple Podcast here soon. And be sure also make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where I want to continue. That's where I like having a lot of this platform stuff, probably more because I like the video editing side of things as well. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're still doing our Super Bowl reactions, which if you've been watching those, I'm on Super Bowl 5. It's the Cowboys' first appearance in the Super Bowl. But I ran into the issue of the video that I was downloading, the video that I was getting the Super Bowl from. Apparently, it cuts off the last 15 minutes of the game when it ends in a game-winning field goal. So we're skipping to Super Bowl 6, which is the Dolphins and the Cowboys. So that'll be coming out soon as well. So be sure to subscribe so you can see all of those reactions as we try to get through this. And it's going to take me a while. I had said that this was probably going to be a very long project, and here we are 2 months in, and we've only done a couple of them. This is going to be a doozy of a project, but here we are about to start really getting into the Rodgers Staubach era of the Cowboys, so I'm excited for that. All right, so busy couple of days in the sports world. We're going to talk a little bit about college basketball. We're going to talk about the NBA, and then I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers, the situation in, Minnesota/Pittsburgh. I think he doesn't have a ton of options. We'll talk about what Aaron Rodgers has coming up here in a little bit as well. All right, let's start with the most pressing news. This is coming out on Wednesday night. We have the first full day of March Madness coming up tomorrow. This Thursday and Friday are the two best days that you could possibly do this. And for those of you who are new here or don't know me, I am a teacher. I'm a high school teacher, and we're on spring break. And so I don't know who is responsible for creating the schedule for us teachers, but this was the best time that you could have done this. The Thursday and Friday, the last 2 days of the spring break, I will be sitting in front of a TV watching basketball all day long. And then it goes into Saturday and Sunday. But Thursday and Friday, I'll be glued to the TV, working on some stuff and just watching basketball all day. So I am extremely excited about it. These are the best couple of days in sports because this is what makes sports so great. You have a lot of teams in that are going to be trying to be one of those stories. They're going to be trying to be one of those Cinderella teams. They're going to try to be one of those teams that can upset a 1 or 2 seed and really become a Cinderella. I have one Cinderella who I think is actually going to make a pretty deep run, and I'll get to that here in just a moment. Other than that, my bracket's pretty chalky. I think that it's easy to try to just pick as many upsets as you can. However, when you really look at it, there's not as many upsets as you might think. There's not going to be 13 seeds winning. At least it would be absolutely crazy if it did. But I think that you have some really good basketball teams in this tournament this year, and I think it's going to be a phenomenal tournament. All right, I want to go first who my upset team is, my Cinderella team this year, who I have making it to the Elite Eight. And I don't know, we'll see how I feel about that later on. We'll see. But I do have the McNeese Cowboys as my kind of underdog sleeper. I got them going to the Elite Eight, knocking off Houston in the Sweet 16. I know McNeese, they have been extremely well coached with their head coach, who is now, I think, going to be leaving for the NC State job. I think that actually factors into it. But when you look at this team and you look at who they have faced this season, they had a 8-point loss on the road at Alabama. And remember, this is a mid-major team. McNeese is in the Southland Conference. This is a mid-major. They went on the road to Alabama and lost by 8. They went on the road to Liberty, another team that is playing in this tournament, and lost by 4. They played Mississippi State on the road, lost by 3. And that is, I think, just a testament to what they have built down there in Lake Charles. And I have them going all the way to the Elite Eight. I have them knocking off Houston. And I think it's funny because none of us really know. One thing I love about March Madness is that you don't really have to follow college basketball. I have watched more college basketball this season than I think I have in a very long time. I've watched Duke, North Carolina. I've watched a lot of Texas play in Texas A&M. I've watched a lot of SEC basketball, which was the best conference in basketball by far this year. 14 teams getting in. You could argue that, Texas, should they have gotten in, that they were right there. So 14 teams into the tournament, and the SEC has looked extremely good this year. So I've watched a lot of SEC basketball. I've watched Michigan and Michigan State this year. I've actually watched a lot more basketball this year than I have in a long while. All of that to say, none of us know. This is the biggest guessing game there is in all of sports. Everyone can make an educated guess about the NFL playoffs, about the NBA playoffs. This single elimination tournament with 64 teams is chaos, and everyone's just trying to get the highest number of wins, right? You're not going to get a perfect bracket. Nobody is ever going to get a perfect bracket. What you want is you to be in the top 10% of the world in bracket and how many picks you get. So you do have to be judicious with some of your sleepers. You do have to be judicious, and who knows what could happen if Clemson knocks off McNeese tomorrow. Then, here we are, and I'm looking dumb because I have an Elite Eight team that got knocked out in the first game. That happens. Here are my Final Four. I went chalky in the Final Four. I have Florida playing Michigan State in the Final Four on one side of the bracket, and Tennessee and Duke in the other side of the bracket. My national champion, I'm actually picking Tennessee. I don't know, I think that with Ziegler, they've been a really good team. They have a good guard play. He kind of gotten hurt a little bit last year. I just think Tennessee, if they get a rematch against Florida like they do in the SEC championship, I think they win. So I have Tennessee winning. I have Michigan State, Florida, Duke, and Tennessee. Michigan State and Tennessee being 2 seeds, and then Florida and Duke being the 1 seeds. I would not be surprised if Florida won the national championship. I would not be surprised if Duke won the national championship. I'll be honest with you. I'm nervous about this Michigan State team. From what I have seen, they don't score the ball particularly well. They're really good defensively. We know that Tom Izzo is a really good coach, but they don't score the ball particularly well. Where do I have those others? So I have 2 1 seeds in the Final Four, 2 2 seeds. Where do I have those other 1 seeds losing? I have Auburn losing in the Sweet 16 to Texas A&M. And then in the other bracket, I have Houston losing to McNeese, which would be a massive win for McNeese if they were to do that, and a huge upset over Houston in the Sweet 16. So my Elite Eights, I have Michigan State, Texas A&M, Duke, and BYU, McNeese and Tennessee, and Florida, Texas Tech. So a lot of chalk. I think the highest seed that I picked over someone is I picked Troy to beat Kentucky. We'll see. I think another one, Drake over Missouri, is another popular pick. This is just, dude, I am so ready. This is so much fun to kind of look at your bracket and see where you're landing. But I have Tennessee winning the national championship. And let me say this. I had a brief conversation. You cannot have 9 brackets and have different picks in 9 different brackets and then celebrate when you get a upset. Like, for example, I am sticking my head out there that McNeese is going to the Elite Eight. If McNeese gets to the Elite Eight, I'm great. What I can't have is 8 different brackets and being able to choose, all right, McNeese is going to do an upset. I'm going to have Grand Canyon with an upset in one of them. I'm going to have Warford beating Tennessee in another one. And when those happen, be like, I picked it. No, you can't do that. You have to pick one bracket that you can actually claim, I will say. One bracket that you can claim that if you pick that upset, you pick that upset. I am going out on a limb. McNeese is going to beat Clemson tomorrow. That's my upset. If it happens, I get to say I picked it. I'm also picking Grand Canyon over Maryland tomorrow or Friday. If Grand Canyon wins, I can pick it. But what you can't do is have 7 different brackets with 7 different winners and then be like, yep, I picked that one. You picked you're on probabilities there. You just picked a bunch of random games. I am not saying that you can't have multiple brackets. What I am saying is like what I'm doing, I have one bracket. I'm using that same bracket in every bracket challenge or whatever thing that I am doing. Number one, because it's easier to keep up with. I can just look back at my one bracket and be like, all right, I don't have to worry about how many brackets that I'm going to have. So I have Tennessee winning the national championship. It's the best 2 days, maybe the best 2 days in sports. We have basketball on starting at like 11 a.m. tomorrow, Central Time. And we won't be done till 9 o'clock tomorrow night. It is truly the 2 best days probably on the basketball calendar. Or at least it's up there. It is absolutely up there for the 2 best days on the sports calendar every year. Saturday and Sunday at Augusta are probably up there. Conference championship games in the NFL are probably up there as well. Actually, I think the divisional round games are that weekend, the divisional round weekend, I think is probably the better. However, conference championships pretty good. And then we'll see this year the college football playoff first round. Those 2 days, those couple that they were Saturday or the Friday-Saturday games, that might become one of these days. The first round of the college football playoff, depending on the matchups, I think that could become one of these days, like March Madness, like the final 2 days of the Masters, like conference championship weekend in the NFL. So Tennessee, I'm rolling with the Vols to win the national championship. I think Rick Barnes has done a great job. He's a legendary coach, coached at Texas and now at Tennessee. He's gotten close. They've tried to make some runs. Last year they had a really good tournament, just couldn't get it done. And so I'm picking Tennessee, and we'll see how far they get. All right. Let's talk some NBA. Let's talk a little NBA action as we are recording this on Wednesday. We have a couple of nice games tonight. You have the Nuggets and Lakers tonight on ESPN, which is going to be a big one as there's a lot of fighting for standings and seeding as we get to the point. We don't have a lot of games left. We are to the point of the year where you got about 6, 7, 8 games remaining until the postseason. The end of May is or March is that postseason start. As you get out of March Madness, you start to get into the NBA playoffs. And so we are about to the point where the Celtics have 6 games left this season. Tonight, you have Nuggets and Lakers. And right now, 2 through 5 in the NBA Western Conference is we're one game separating 5 different teams. So you have the Rockets, the Nuggets, the Lakers, and the Grizzlies all within a game of each other fighting for playoff spots and seeding. Right now, the Rockets are the 2 seed, the Nuggets are the 3, Lakers at 4, Grizzlies at 5. Nuggets, Lakers play tonight. If whoever wins, that's going to kind of separate the two between those two, even though you still got a couple games left. The Rockets are, I think they're probably sitting okay. They'll have to play the Nuggets. They have to play the Rockets. Or they have to play the Nuggets. They have to play the Lakers. March 31st, the last game of the regular season, is going to be Rockets at Lakers, and that could be vital for playoff seeding. All of those teams are going to avoid the play-in. They're not worried about the play-in tournament. Now they're just worried about what seeding and, honestly, who's just going to be possibly on the other side of the bracket of the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Lakers have been playing well. The Nuggets have had kind of this weird stretch the last couple of games. If you haven't been watching the Nuggets, the last couple of games, their last game they beat the Warriors without Nikola Jokic and without Jamal Murray. They beat them 114-105 in a game that was really strange. Both Steph did not play well in that game, but Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler both played for the Warriors. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray did not. But before that, 2 days before that, the Nuggets lost to the Wizards. They lost to the Wizards 126-123. They've had a weird stretch where they beat the Lakers, but the Lakers were without LeBron and Luka. They had Austin Reeves, who had a really good game, and they struggled to beat the Lakers, who were not healthy at the time. Then they followed that up with the next day losing to the Wizards, and then they beat the Nuggets, or they beat the Warriors without Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. So they have 5 games left of the regular season. They have to play the Rockets on Sunday. They play the Rockets on Sunday, and that's really it in terms of who they can kind of knock out of the standings. They have the Trailblazers, the Rockets, then they play the Bulls, the Bucks, and the Jazz. All of those games are obviously important for their seeding, but in terms of like you can truly get a game up on somebody, the Nuggets and Rockets game, that's the only one that they have left on their schedule where they can kind of fight for the seeding. So tonight's Nuggets-Lakers game is going to be massive because right now the Lakers are a game back of the Nuggets for the 3 seed. If you win this game, you basically flip-flop those two. And then you have Memphis back there as well, who's trying to kind of nudge their way into that conversation. And they have to play, the Grizzlies have to play the Clippers, the Jazz, the Thunder, and then they finish up their season with the Lakers and then the Celtics, who I wouldn't imagine that the Celtics are going to be playing everyone. They're trying to kind of get healthy themselves here recently. So a lot is going on in the NBA. And I think that in the Western Conference, you have the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't know if they are quite ready to make that leap to the NBA Finals, but this could be that year where they get there and see what happens. Then you have the Rockets. I don't think that they're there yet. The Rockets don't have a guy, whereas the Thunder, they know that they can go to Shea. They know they can go to Shea when it counts. When they need a bucket, they can go to SGA. The Rockets don't really have that guy yet. We'll see what happens with some of these young guys that they have, but they're just not quite there yet. Then you obviously have the Nuggets, who are a contender when you have one of the best players in the league and maybe one of the best players of the last 30 years in Nikola Jokic, who's looking like he's going to win another MVP unless Shea can steal that away from him. But they're 6-4 in their last 10 are the Nuggets. And so that's going to be, they have a pretty tough stretch here in the next couple of games, kind of closing out the season. Then you have the Lakers. Lakers are also 6-4 in their last 10. They're without LeBron, but they've won the last 2. And Austin Reeves has been playing really well. Luka's starting to get into his mojo where he can make shots. And then most importantly, Luka is so good at facilitating and getting the ball to his teammates. Jackson Hayes basically overnight became kind of a liability to someone who is an extremely valuable part of this Lakers team. And his lob threat with Luka Doncic is immense. The same thing happened last season with Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. Those are both guys that can rim protect and were able to get easy buckets because of who was on the floor and Luka Doncic. And so if you are a big, it is in your best interest to maybe try to play with Luka. He's going to get you paid. He's going to get your numbers up because he's that good at the pick and roll. He knows where to put the ball. And Jackson Hayes, his stock has gone up because of playing with Luka Doncic. Austin Reeves has been playing really well. I know that Rui Hachimura has been hurt, but this Lakers team, I think, is a contender in the West. I really do think it's the Thunders, Nuggets, and Lakers as your contenders in the Western Conference, and then it kind of a tier below that is going to be the Warriors. I don't think that the Timberwolves are going to be at that spot. I don't think that they're there, but they also do have a guy. I mean, Anthony Edwards, we saw last year, he kind of put the team on his back, getting them to the Western Conference Finals before he fizzled out towards the end of the season, or towards the end of at least the Western Conference Finals. So in the East, I think we are all anticipating a Cleveland-Boston Eastern Conference Finals, and if that happens, it's going to be a really good NBA Finals between those two teams. Cleveland they're tied for the best record in the NBA. They're 56-12, 6.5 games up over the Boston Celtics. And both of these teams, both the Cavs and the Celtics, 8-2 in their last 10. The Celtics have won 3 in a row, but the Cavs has lost their last 2. They lost to the Magic 108-103 on Sunday. Follow that up with last night. They lost 132-119 in a game that Kawhi played pretty well. James Harden had an incredible play over Evan Mobley, kind of had him turned around. But they play the Suns tomorrow, so hopefully they can get back on track. I think that they have a very easy, or an easier schedule towards the end of this. They play the Suns and they play the Jazz, the Trailblazers, the Spurs. Their final 2 games are against the Pistons and the Clippers, which might be a little bit more difficult for the Cavs, but I think they've pretty much locked up that 1 seed because just out of games at this point. The Celtics, they kind of have the same, a very similar schedule to the Cavs. They go tomorrow. They'll play the Jazz, then they'll play the Trailblazers, the Kings, the Suns, the Spurs, and then finish the season out with the Grizzlies. But I think we're just waiting for the Suns-Cavaliers matchup. I think that's what we're all waiting for. I don't think that Milwaukee is in a place where they can win a championship. I don't think that Giannis has the players around him to do that. New York has been nice. Boston has given New York fits all season long. Anytime that those two teams have met, Boston has really showed out. So I just don't think that the Knicks match up very well with the Celtics. And so I really do think that it's Cleveland-Boston 1-2 in that conference for a trip to the NBA Finals once the postseason comes along. So that's your NBA talk. I want to touch quickly on Aaron Rodgers because the Minnesota Vikings have said, yeah, we're out. There's a possibility that they might later in the season want to talk to Aaron Rodgers, but they're pretty much going to hand the keys over to J.J. McCarthy this offseason and let him be QB1. And I had some reservations about what was going on in Minnesota because I felt like if they were entertaining the idea of Aaron Rodgers, is there something that we didn't know with J.J. McCarthy? Was the injury more serious? Do they not really know what J.J. could be? Did they not see enough? Is he not progressing enough? And if that was the case, why didn't they just give Sam Darnold an extension? So I was a little confused on what was going on in Minnesota. But now it has come out that they're kind of out on the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. And now Aaron Rodgers is looking around going, Pittsburgh's pretty much my only option. Now, there is a possibility, and I've seen someone say this, and this is, I think, a possibility at least, that Aaron doesn't sign with the team right now and just waits to start the season when inevitably some quarterback goes down and someone needs someone, which I think would be interesting. If Aaron's like, I don't really want to be in Pittsburgh. I don't want to be in the cold. I don't want to be in that division. How am I going to fit with Mike Tomlin? If there's anything like that, and he's like, you know what? I'm just going to wait until maybe a contender needs a quarterback. I'm going to wait until we are in a situation after training camp starts that some quarterback somewhere gets hurt, and I'm going to come in and try to be the quarterback for that team. That is a possibility. I don't know if Aaron is, at 40 years old, I don't know if you can just like pick up and get into game shape immediately and be like ready to go. I think that would be a concern of mine, but if you're the Steelers, he's kind of your only option. You've kind of pigeonholed yourself into not signing Justin Fields. He's now with the Jets, and then saying, I'm out on Russell Wilson. You're bringing back Mason Rudolph, but we've seen that we have seen that time and time again. We've seen Mason Rudolph come out, give you maybe a game that he's decent, and then if he starts a couple of games, you start to lose some of them. You start to lose some of that momentum with Mason Rudolph. So what's the option for the Steelers? You're not going to be picking high enough to go out and get like a Shedeur Sanders, especially not a Cam Ward. Are you just going to wait and maybe draft Jackson Dart? Is that your goal? So the Steelers are the only option for Aaron Rodgers. And if Aaron doesn't want Pittsburgh, I would be really curious to know if he's just going to A, retire, or B, just be like, I'll wait. I'm going to wait till training camp starts, and when someone goes down, I'll be there to try to pick up the pieces and maybe make a run. Maybe I don't play until week 4, week 5 of the season, but maybe that's the route that Aaron Rodgers goes. I don't know. But as we're sitting here in mid-March, I don't know where his options are. I don't know what Aaron's waiting for unless it's just waiting to hear back from Pittsburgh at this point. So that's going to be an interesting storyline over the next couple of weeks. So, all right, that's it. That's all I got for you. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever you listen to podcasts, and give us a thumbs up, give it a like, review, do all the things that you know help podcasts and help these things grow. And we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.